The other thing that I promised is that whether students have a very low CA or no CA at all, they are going to be allowed to sit for examinations.
Please. Right there. Please. Top G's.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Tommy Smiley, and this is Top G's. With me, I'm with CK over here, and I have Black over there, and we are here with one of the top G's at UNZA, Mr. Governor.
Yes,
welcome to the show, brother. Welcome. So, just so you know, Mr. Governor, where you are here, this is where we interview all the top G's, because us three, we're the top G's.
Yes,
Like in Lusaka,
don't get it twisted.
you don't know, now you know we are the top G's in
I
Lusaka.
feel privileged
So
to
if
be
you're
sitting
here,
with the top G's.
yeah. Nice one. Round of applause. All right, Mr. Governor, now it's time for serious business.
Right.
The people watching and us here, we had a few questions for you that, we wanted to figure out. The first thing I wanted to know personally is, looking at your manifesto, going into UNZA as president, some of the things that you brought out, did you do some of the things, and what are some of the things that you did from your manifesto?
Firstly, before I answer the question again, I just want to say I'm privileged to have received an invite from the top G's to feature on this podcast. It's an absolutely amazing opportunity for myself. Yeah, they should be casting money. Yes. And then as for student politics at the University of Zambia, it's something that is more complex than we understand it, right? So in my opposition state, my aspirational state, as an aspiring candidate for the position of UNZASU President, I did make certain declarations to say, once put into office, once given the responsibility, the mandate by the beautiful students of the University of Zambia, I am going to, number one, legalize businesses on campus, because long are the days where we just, the Zambian dream was you go to school, graduate, get married, get a 9 to 5 and get a salary at the end of the day. But in this economy that we're living in, this world that we're living in today, mostly a 9 to 5 is just going to give you a surviving type of lifestyle. But most people don't want that. They want to be top G's, and for you to be a top G.
Exactly, that's the problem. You have to be like Cassie.
Right. So that is one of the things that I promised. The other thing that I promised is that whether students have a very low CA or no CA at all, they are going to be allowed to sit for examinations.
Please. Right there. Please. Right there.
Right. Yeah, so that is a promise that I made last year. Right? And students did write without their CAs. But it's not a once-off battle. It's a concurrent thing. Even this year, as we're heading into our mid-year exams, it is something that was discussing with the Senate. So I will be sitting in Senate a few days from now to discuss the same thing, the no CA, no exam policy, and students that have only paid 25%, but they haven't met the 50% threshold as prescribed by management. So that is one of the things that I advocated for last year together with my team, and it's the same thing that I'm advocating for again this particular year, to ensure that
just so that the people get exactly how it is, because most of the students, they just like shout certain things and they say, no, like he's not doing this, he's not doing that. I want to know like how it is when you get into that office and you're having these meetings with the Senate and you're saying like, look, the students don't want this, when you're representing the students, how is it in there? What is really required of you? For what kind of points? What type of proof? Is it like a court case? What do you have to do in order for you to get your point across for the students to have what they want?
Right. I love the fact that you've brought up to say most students don't understand the other side of it, right? Because students only see it from their perspective. They rarely interact with management, let alone the VC himself. You see, so they have these perceptions to say, you're just going to Senate, just say students should write. VC, we are the students, make sure we write. If you don't write, we'll riot. And the VC will be like, oh my goodness, let me give you what you want. No. There are systems, right? There is a clear distinction between what we want and what is programmed by the system. Because if there are not systems that govern any entity, any institution, any organization, then that is going to be proved to be very futile. You see? So there are certain rules and regulations. Myself, I've been almost suspended twice, almost expelled 3 times, just in this reign that I've had as president, because there are certain times where I go against what the system prescribes. Like, for instance, declaring roadside. I did declare roadside after our beautiful late Moma. May I rest. May I so continue resting in peace. I was frustrated because we have been asking management, we've been asking government to do something about the road. We appreciate the fact that they have brought about the footbridge, but it is mostly infested with junkies, lack of a better term, who molest and harass our female students. And for them to quickly avoid that and quickly go to the other side of the road, they decide to use that, of which there is no speed limit, there are no speed bumps, there are no speed humps. And every year, students die at that road. That is why I declared roadside, so that they can hear us and everything like that. But it is unconstitutional and regulatory to declare that, especially as president.
True.
I was first in Senate, almost expelled, just by the grace of God that I'm still sitting here as president. So you see that. So when certain things happen, the students are going to roadside, 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 roadside. And once I make that decision to say, okay, we're going to roadside, imagine if a student gets hit by a bus because I made that declaration. You see, that is going to fall on my hands. That is going to fall on UNZASU. So it is not as straightforward as we might think to say, okay, when you want this as students, we just make noise and this is going to be done in the way that it's supposed to be done. I'm in a situation where I see the students' perspective and I also see management's perspective, because they also have rules and regulations, systems of how things operate. In as much as I would want things to not operate the way that they do, even themselves, they say, we don't want it to operate like this, but it's a government institution. And you have to do certain things if we want to keep our jobs. We have to do certain things in order for things to remain the way that they are. So it's somewhat difficult to someone to understand if they're only looking at one perspective. Myself, I'm in a position where I look at both perspectives, the student side and the management side. Management becomes difficult because they're only looking at management's perspective. Students become difficult because they're only looking at student perspective. And I'm the one who's in the middle trying to balance the two. So it's a little bit cumbersome.
I see. Okay, just for the person watching at home right now, that person is arguing right now as you are speaking, like, but there's that other president last year who did this and who did that, but you haven't done this on time and you haven't done that on time. Looking at the fact that you are, in history of UNZASU elections, you have been the most popular president to have ever been, you know? So most people have their eyes on you every single day. Everybody has something to say about the governor, and like, you know, you've been getting some endorsements here and there. You know, you had an endorsement from Steers, you had an endorsement from Nadia's, and then the people are thinking, no, like, why are you putting your focus on doing advertisements this side when you've got school over here, you've got issues that you haven't dealt with. You promised us this and you promised us that, but you're out there making money for yourself and you're not doing anything for the student. What is the response to such claims?
Okay, so firstly, I'll start with management, right? For quite a number of years, UNZA never had a vice chancellor. It used to have acting vice chancellors. So there are certain things that an acting personnel cannot implement. And then there are things where someone who is duly elected, appointed, whatever it is, has the power and mandate to do certain things. Right. Professor Mundia Moya came in second semester of last year, if my memory serves me right, you see? And when he was walking into that office, he walked in with what is known as Vision 2075 of the University of Zambia. And anything...
2075, what is 2075? You was asking too many questions about Ghana. What is 2075 you mean?
Anything that is proved to be contrary to that vision is proved to be an enemy of development.
Is that bureaucratic though? Is that bureaucratic? Yeah, you know?
One can argue, right? So when we're talking about pushing for example, supplementary exams, right? Pushing for all those things. It is something that we tried to do, you see? But this man, this team, is put in place and has the authority to either say yes and say no. And the justification that they give is that during supplementary exams, during final exams, they were actually moderating. We argued so much so that we started seeing people's scripts. Umuntu nakwata 29 Bamupera ku 10, akwata shenga 39, of which the minimum pass mark at UNZA is 40. So no more no, what the bakupera 10 free marks, but that is what they were arguing.
To be honest, that
is what they were arguing. Right. So they said, we have done so much moderation, but someone is still not clearing. There are those people that were in 35, 30, they were given 10 marks, some of them even 15 marks, and they were able to clear. You see that? So it was very it was very difficult to do that, right? So number one, management. Number two, UNZASU itself. Sanitation has become way more worse than it has ever been at the institute.
You admit that? You're admitting to it, though?
Yes, I am admitting to it.
Okay.
Why? Because of the challenges that we're facing.
Right.
I'll talk about UNZASU. All of us here understand that we used to have ministers. Minister of Academics, Minister of Water and Sanitation, Minister of Local Government, and whatnot. So it was more like a student governance, of which their budget was not limited to only unionism, but also procuring certain things, of which that is why certain governments, certain ZASU members, like last year we had, is it Inkash? I beg to remember her name. The Minister of Water and everything like that. Okay. She budgeted for toilets and whatsoever, and some of them were procured. A year before that, under Chandra Chongo, popularly known as Soweto, they budgeted for that. Special council as well. These are things that they were able to budget for. But the constitution has been amended. Right now we have secretaries. We don't have ministers. And we do not have a mandate to budget and procure toilets, showers, this, that, and everything.
Makes much more sense.
You see that? So now our primary mandate now remains to push management, to pressure management to do the right thing at the right time. Now, when we do apply that pressure, they want to do it, but we're faced with an animal called bureaucracy. Like you said, So they want to do this, but they have to go to the CFO, the accountant, the dean, So immediately we were elected into office, immediately the year began, we pushed for certain things to be procured worth about 5 million kwacha. The toilets and everything. And right now, as I speak to you, I feel like it is at 90% completion for those things to be procured. And that has been about 3-4 months. You see that? So by the time we're closing this 2 weeks break that we're going to, a lot of work is going to be done. Because ours is constant pressure on management to do the right thing at the right time. We have, our hands are tied. We cannot budget for certain things in as much as we do. But where we can, just to my little things, behind the curtains where management knows exactly what we're doing, we get to, now they know because I'm on camera. We get to buy sockets for students. Maybe out of my own pocket, out of pocket of UNZASU, or maybe we contribute, we buy sockets. Because that's how much we want students to benefit from our rain. But it is constricted, our hands are limited. We can't buy those things using the UNZASU coffers.
I'd like to jump in on that one. For instance, I'll be as real as possible, right. And I think even the people could agree with me. You are. Let me give a scenario. You're the UNZASU president right now. You get a deal done. It's, by the way, his money is not your money. Right. It could be in his way of doing business, right?
Right.
And so now, in your values as a president or as a genuine person, right? Would you, safe to say, you get a deal done, transactions are made and whatnot, would you take out something out of your own pocket? Your own pocket? You know how people usually, quite right, they donate out of their own pocket? Right. This is for public knowledge that there's maybe, it's alleged. It could be an allowance, it could be something you can make for yourself or you're given as UNZASU president. Am I right or wrong? Would you be willing to take something out of your pocket to help people? Let's give a block, for example, Soweto block. It's management's responsibility. Let me not even try and act like I'm just bringing a scenario and we want answers.
Absolutely.
This is also based off on questions asked from people on the ground when you're consulting. Sure. Out of your pocket, could you go and publicly, or rather in campus, to say this block, yama guys, yapa kalingaling, out of, you know how you can narrate a situation like, we want to help you guys, from your own pocket. wafunya 3 pin mwabashitira ma sockets and say na stone top on abombele. Ken, is that in line with your vision as a leader right now? Has that been done by you? If not, why?
I don't even think it's fair for him to do such a thing,
No,
even
but
though he's done it or not.
It's something that I've continuously done, even before being elected as president,
Right.
even before coming out in the open as an aspiring candidate.
Right.
You would visit a certain hostel for MoMA, mostly for a MoMA. You see that?
Sounds biased.
Sounds bad.
Just a moment.
Mostly, no, I'm talking about before office, I'm talking about before office, right? You'd visit, they would complain, this is that, you would make a petition to UNZASU, UNZASU would delay to do this, and then you have 100 kwacha in your account, you have 100 kwacha in your pocket. And then I know quite a number of people, students that actually work with electricity, they put sockets, they put this, that, and everything. You call them. When you got to go business, so it is something that I've been doing even before coming out as an aspiring candidate, even before becoming president. You see, it is something that I'm still doing. So like right now, Soweto big flat.
Right.
They cook using the sockets that are in the hallway, which is not right at all at the highest level institution. You see? So I've made a pledge. We were calculating a budget with certain other students, and then it came out to like 1,500. You see that? So I'm not going to give the whole lot of it, because there's a situation. I gave about a 2,000 kwacha towards maintenance of a certain room. I'm not going to certain hostel, right? Like the taps and this, that, and everything. And people were happy, right? Now, what I got to hear to say, would they be wrong? Do
you see? You do realize that?
I want to help, right? I want to help, but now it's coming back to my face to say you're corrupt. You're using money that
UNZASU alleged,
and then you're using it, and then you're helping out. You see that?
I think enough talk on the UNZASU money. Just so that we can wrap up. One last question before you give your final remarks. I also had a question from somebody that said, when you got into power, there are some photos that you took with some government officials at those hostels that they've been building for, I don't know if it's been like 5, 7,
it's Rome. They're building Rome.
I feel like
building Rome.
My children's children are the ones who are going to inherit those hostels. Please give us a word. I don't know if you're allowed to. If you can, like, when do you think those hostels are going to be ready? Or if so, like, just give us an update on those hostels. Because there was some pictures that came out. There was a Minister of Sports, Tatenda Mutepuka.
Yes.
I would say your name, Batman, Passport Do. You were there. Governor was there. And some government officials. And you had taken photos like, next week we are finishing. You know, that's what it looks like. So just give us a word.
Next week we're finishing. It's crazy business. We waited.
So, I think, answering your question, I think I'll also just like conclude on the questions that you asked about sanitation and everything like that. You see, the major reason why our sanitation remains in a dilapidated state and will continue deteriorating is because of one significant problem.
Okay.
It's not about the facilities, no. It's because our hostels are congested. That is an undeniable fact. Our hostels are congested, you see, which is why, like I earlier alluded to, Special Council bought toilets and things, but it's still a problem. Soweto came and did the same thing. Vincent also came and did the same thing, but we're still having a problem, which means it's not our equipment, it's the environment. Because those equipment can only last and can only take so much. You see, one hostel, one level, where they're supposed to be 4 on the side, 4 on the side, that's 2 times 4. But instead of two people coming out of one room, you have 8 people. So now that's 8 times 4 rooms this side, 8 times 4 rooms on the other side.
We can assume.
2 toilets. You see that, right? 30 survive a toilet. You see? So now our primary mandate was to find a permanent solution to this problem. And that is decongesting the hostels.
Right.
Which is why when immediately we got into office, we started putting pressure on government, because we heard, we saw, we read that the president, through the Ministry of Finance, had allocated about 2 billion, if my memory serves me right, towards the completion of stored hostels, not only at the University of Zambia, but across the country, right? So when we entered office, we started pushing, and then we found the process, bureaucracy again, at like 25, 30% completion. So it was back-to-back visitation, back-to-back consultation, back-to-back phone calls, confrontation, this is that and everything, to have the president say, the president already declared it in 2023 when he visited the institution for the first time, right? In his capacity as president. So he declared they should start, but they never started. So it was the pressure that we put, the pressure that we applied, that made for a fact that those hostels works as we are speaking. The Chinese people, the Chinese contractors are working on these hostels. And the word that we got is that they are going to be done before the year ends. So now there are two hostels there, right? There are the ones that are under the Ministry of Education, and then there are ones that are under the Ministry of Sport. So the ones that are being worked on are the ones that are under the Ministry of Education, of which once they are done, they are going to produce about 1,500 bed spaces, you see? And then we don't want to wait for them to be done so that the ones for sports can start being worked on. So right now, we're still putting pressure so that the ones for sports also start being worked on. So that by the time the year ends, by the time we're opening next academic year, only then will you appreciate the amount of work that we're putting in, you see? Mine is not to be a politician, but mine is to be a leader. And a leader is one that is going to plant a seed and not want to benefit from the shade nor the fruit from that tree. They push us go do it in pounds para 10. They push us right? Yes. So as I conclude, in as much as even those hostels are done, right, it is not going to cure the problem. It's going to lessen it, right? But it's not going to cure it because I'm sitting on over 30,000 students. And once that is done, we're only going to have close to about 10,000 bed spaces. So now we're coming up with another initiative, which are prefabs. You see Cargo 88. Cargo 88 was, lack of a better term, not built, but it was put together. It was assembled. There was no brick and mortar. It was just cardboard, metal, this is that, and everything. And it is something that we have been talking to people, construction company management, to say they are willing to bring these facilities.
Please, I mean, just use containers.
Exactly.
Doors and like
that is what we're doing, and that is almost done. I think.
How will the most
But I mean, look at the time. Like you don't have so much time in office now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing, right? There's only so much that I can do, and that is one thing that we face as UNZASU. We rarely have continuity. You see, so I'll start a project, and then another person that will be elected by you guys, by us, maybe has his own vision, and then we'll throw away this and then start handling this. And UNZASU is only about 9, 8, 10 months tops. You see. So by the time they neglect this, they start doing these things, it's going to be difficult. So it is my prayer that whoever is going to occupy the seat that I'm sitting on now is one that is going to push this agenda that I'm leaving, which is the prefabs. And the prefabs are nearly done. Nearly done. It's just negotiation, discussing the prices and this is that and everything. It's nearly done. Same thing with the legalization of businesses. Nearly done. So it is my prayer, my really, in fact, President to be, 2025, 2026 academic year, it is my plea to you. The governor is speaking to you to say we have invested so much time, so much effort, so much energy to ensure that certain things are implemented at the University of Zambia, to ensure that certain problems are eradicated for the betterment of the students. So once you occupy office, I understand you might have a vision that is driving you, but look at the things that are surrounding you. Bomba na matuzu kwetu. You see? You will find certain things that you can, certain things that you cannot do. But do not throw away these things that we are putting into play, because they are going to benefit UNZA students, and you are going to leave a name for yourself. Because if these things that we are doing manifest in your tenure, you're the hero. He's the hero, right? Right. Yes. Then lastly, one of the other things that we have done, students on self-sponsorship that are facing financial difficulties, that are financially incapacitated. UNZASU, through the initiative that we started, which is the alumni grant, is talking to former alumni, former students at the University of Zambia, asking for any amount so that they can help students that are financially challenged to pay for their school fees. UNZASU is going to be receiving and giving out 150,000 to those students that are on self-sponsorship so that they can meet the 25% threshold and then they can write their exams.
I'm a victim. I'm a victim.
Wait, mostly, I'm a student too. Quite right.
Right.
As you've been here, I've been listening more because I wanted to just get your point. They've been asking. They've practically been asking the questions that
are your final question.
And they've practically asked everything. So, like, one question that I just have. Before you decided to become president, there were stories saying that you wanted to stand as vice president.
Right.
Yes, you wanted to stand as vice president. What made you change? Or if that's true, is that true? Is that true? You wanted to stand as vice president?
No. That's the word that was out.
That's the word that was out. Okay. If not, we put that aside. Did you think you would have the amount of buzz that you had over social media and all that? Did you think this would be the most popular UNZASU just when you were starting?
Okay. I think Shishibenga wasungu baranda nanga bavemba baranda to confuse your enemy. A technique to achieve. It firstly came out as a Minister of Justice on the ground. And now I'm going to be Minister of Justice. Yeah, it is saying if the governor, we have a Minister of Justice. They would have set up a Prime Minister. Governor, Prime Minister. You see, the more people talk, the more the name is going out. Vice President. President. You see that? So it was one of the techniques that we use to say we're going to. I don't advise for someone to use it because it's a risky one, because you would have the same thought to say you wanted to stand for this position, why are you standing for that position, right? You see that? And then for the social media buzz, no, I did not anticipate. I did not plan that it's going to be this loud.
No, it didn't even look planned.
This guy!
Now, like, think about it.
I feel like
but
it really
he knows. Him and I come from the same place. And leadership, him and I have always been there. Even the other days a boy faced here, if I from that was the word. You see that? So he has an idea of the certain things that I wanted to do at the University of Zambia. The social media buzz, no clue whatsoever. Even the way the slogan came up, Nidesafi. I still don't understand it. I can't really explain it in depth to say, okay, we did this, we did that. You see that? So many people contributed to that. You see that, right? Yeah, so it is a vision that I had for quite a long time, to be head of the University of Zambia. But I was thrown off because when I came and found out the way it was conducted, and the stereotypes and the narratives that were around being UNZASU president, you see that, right? That's what threw me off. I must admit, I stopped seeing myself as UNZASU president at some point because of what I was hearing. See that? But afterwards, sometimes you have to be a certain person, a different person for you to realize who you want to be. So after living a certain type of lifestyle, that let me just go back to something that I'm passionate about, which is leadership. You see that,
Top G's.
Okay. I think we could wrap it up now.
Concluding remarks.
This has been the governor on Top G's as our first guest, okay, which certifies him as a top G. You understand? So, Mr. Governor, thank you so much for coming on to our show. I hope the student populace, you've heard your questions have been answered, and there's nothing else that's on your mind. We also just wanted you to be able to like just say things, as you know, you can't really answer everybody sometimes, you know. So this has been a platform, and I hope it's been satisfying. So with that being said, that's it for us. I've been Tommy Smiley,
People's Champion CK,
and
blackest
the governor.
Thank you so much. See you guys next time.
Thank you so much, man.